Hello, I am Fiona Sitkin, a former Fulbright scholar from Ukraine and now a board member of Fulbright, New Jersey. I am very happy to welcome you to the new edition of Fulbright, New Jersey Speaker Series, established in 2022. As you know, Fulbright Association is comprised of alumni, people currently on exchanges, and supporters of international education. There are 54 chapters in the United States, at least one per state. New Jersey alone has over 300 active Fulbright alumni, as well as thousands of people in New Jersey who traveled abroad on Fulbright. Additionally, a great many foreign students are coming here annually. So they want to study in New Jersey colleges and universities. Educational exchanges benefit New Jersey economically and educationally. Fulbrighters come from over 165 countries, and what ties us together is commitment to advancing mutual understanding, tolerance, and intercultural cooperation worldwide. Isn't that a beautiful mission? Now, because New Jersey Fulbright is such a diverse group, we've invited our members to share their individual experiences. We also invite some guests from time to time who are famous thought leaders, artists, or actors. Why? Because we want to have a broader and deeper vision of the world. Well, today I have the honor to host an outstanding speaker, Dr. John Donnellan, who is also a member of Fulbright New Jersey board. Dr. Donnellan is an associate professor and chair of the management department at New Jersey City University School of Business. It is in Jersey City, New Jersey. John Donnellan was teaching in China, Finland, England, France, and Mexico, including the universities of Cambridge and Oxford in the UK. Most importantly, Dr. Donnellan had 3 Fulbright Scholar grants. 3. Isn't it amazing? Well, I believe it's a rare feat. He spent all his Fulbright time in Finland. His studies of the Arctic Circle have multiple applications in the economy, in management, and in education. We are ready to learn from you, John. Well, a note to our participants not to forget. After the webinar, you will be able to ask all the questions you want, and I'm asking you now to put down your questions in Q&A on chat. It's at the bottom of the screen, all right? Good. And now I give you John Donnellan. To you, John.
No, thank you so much, Ms. Chitkin. It's always been a pleasure working with you, and it's an honor actually being part of the Fulbright program, especially being a member and on the board at Fulbright New Jersey chapter. I've met such great people, and it's just amazing how many Fulbrighters you meet in the United States. It's, as Ms. Chitkin mentioned, we're everywhere actually. So what I'd like to do is I'd like to share my screen with you and take you on a little adventure. I'm going to take you on an adventure to Finland. So let me share my screen. And it's going to be a bit fun. We're going to talk a little bit about the different, opportunities that I had in Finland and talk a little bit about the Fulbright program. I know there's a few folks that I've invited from my school that may not be fully versed in what the Fulbright is. It's a great organization. And we'll talk a little bit about the mutual exchange of cultures and understanding, which is so critical to the role of the Fulbrighter. So let's go on our adventure right now. Let me page down. Sorry, let me go to the next one. Sorry. I've been doing this for years. I should be good at it by now. There we go. Sorry. Um, I'm the one on the right, just in case you don't know who I am, and the head elf is on the left. And I kid you not, Finland is it's really a great country. And they have Santa Claus Village, which we'll talk a little bit more about during the program. But the head elf at Santa Claus Village up in the Arctic Circle gave me the grand tour. And part of my role at the Fulbright Finland, um, the three that I had gone on, was to look at exchanging culture is one thing, but it's also the sustainability of the environment, et cetera, and education, because Fulbright wants us to be able to bring back to our home universities from our host universities that knowledge, which I have brought back from the different universities to NJCU. And in addition to being on the board of for New Jersey Fulbright chapter, which is a great honor, I'm also on the Fulbright Finland Alumni Council. So it's a dual greatness to be on both of those. Also, my background besides education, I came from Wall Street, and J.P. Morgan was the last one I worked at. In addition to that was Prudential Financial. So just for those who don't know about Fulbright, well, that's Senator Fulbright, a picture of him right there. And this is probably from the 40s. Now, Senator Fulbright said basically, if we can get two cultures together and exchange students, exchange faculty, there'll be a greater understanding, and maybe world peace can come out of it. And he was 100% correct. So the Fulbright program is probably one of the most prestigious international award programs that exists, and it's run by the U.S. Department of State. I'll talk a little bit about the different programs that I was associated with and in my adventures in Fulbright. So this is the gentleman that put it all together. It's quite an adventure. Now, I have worked with Fulbright Finland. Now, this U.S. Fulbright, but Fulbright Finland also, some countries have their own Fulbright, that works hand in hand with the two Fulbright organizations in the United States. We'll talk about those in a moment. But Fulbright Finland is a great organization. Their CEO is just an amazing individual. She is Terry, her last name is hard to pronounce, but Mosa. In the Finnish language, they have all these little dots over certain of their letters, and it's a different pronunciation. So you have to bear with me on that. But Terry is an incredible CEO of the Fulbright Finland organization and the workers that she has in Helsinki. And they make the Fulbrighters that come to the United States and the exchange from Fulbrighters in Finland that have some sort of an exchange with Fulbright Finland to come to the US, so vice versa. They make them really welcome, and they take really good care of you. I was very, very happy when I was there. How did this work? Well, my first Fulbright was actually as what's called a Fulbright specialist. This was with a group called World Learning. Now, World Learning works with individuals that have a certain background, a skill set of maybe some industry skill set or a really good teaching background. And what their role is to work with the host countries in the various countries, host, in my case, Finland, and work with them to see if there's a match between the skill sets of the Fulbright, those that are filling out the application for the specialist with the host country. Now, the uniqueness about this, when I was a Fulbright specialist back in 2017, you apply and it's a 5-year gig, meaning that you're on a bench basically for 5 years waiting for your assignment. So it's a rolling opportunity, meaning that it's not a set schedule when you have to apply. This you can apply practically anytime you want during the year. It's a short term from 2 weeks to 6 weeks. So it's very convenient for those of us who are working. I really enjoyed it. Welcome to Finland. Well, how did it happen? Finland is an amazing country. It is probably one of the top education systems in the world. I think back to 2018, it was #1. It's kind of fluctuated within the top 5 over the past from 2018 to 2022, 23, 24. They believe in a different system over there. They don't look at countries, they don't look at their universities as this is the top university. It's kind of a collective. They're all the same. We're all in this together. There's no competition. They hate standardized tests. They do not believe in standardized tests. So it's just a different than the United States. And that's what I learned from them. That knowledge on how to teach students is really, really great. Finland is the #1 happy country in the world. It's the happiest place in the world. And they've had that for I think 6 years in a row. And those of you who've gone to Finland, it's an amazingly beautiful country. It's a top green country, meaning that's like 95% forest. Very few people, lots of space between people. They love their space, the Finns. They like to have a lot of room between each other. That's just their culture. The gentleman that I'm talking to in the bottom right hand corner, he's the president of Finland. He still is. His name is Sauli Niinistö. And they always call him Sauli. Sauli is an individual that you literally can just walk up to and say hello and introduce yourself. And he will be very, very pleasant, down to earth, and talk to you. That's a big difference between Finland and the US. I don't think I could just casually walk up to President Biden and say, "Hey, Joe, how are you?" That would not go over well for me, especially. In Finland, you can do that. That's okay. And where I was right there, that was in the Finnish, no, that was the US Embassy in Helsinki. And the picture of all those individuals in the upper right-hand corner, that's the Fulbrighters from that cohort in 2017. There was, I believe I was either the only specialist out of that group or one of two. The others were a mixture of Fulbrighters. Some of them were scholars. So Finland really goes out of its way to make it a very happy world for people. I work a lot with Fulbright Egypt as well. I'm on their committee to review applications coming to the United States. And I'm sure if I went to Fulbright Egypt, they would give me the same welcome. It's just great the way they treat Fulbrighters. So in 2017, my first Fulbright, it was at it's SAMP. It's called SAMP. That's Santa Kunta University of Applied Sciences. They're down in Rauma, Finland, which is South Finland, and Pori, Finland. That's a campus they have down there. And my role there was, because it was a specialist, to work on projects dealing with supply chain logistics and maritime port management, as well as lecturing. Just as an FYI, if you are a Fulbrighter, the host university is so excited to have you. They will walk you around to all of the different businesses that they deal with, and a lot of the different universities around their school to show you off, so to speak. Again, it's a big privilege. So even though you have a schedule that you've been given by your sponsor, guaranteed it will change consistently. Why? Because they want to show you off, to give lectures, to give presentations, and to talk. Now, my sponsor for this particular Fulbright was Ms. Marina Wickman, and she was the senior lecturer and international coordinator, Facility of Logistics and Maritime Technology in SAMP. Now, the two pictures at the picture at the bottom of the two ladies, that's Marina on the left, and that is our charge d'affaires at the U.S. Embassy on the right. And on top of them, that's me next to the vice chancellor, the vice rector, excuse me, the CEO of SAMP. And you'll notice the SAMP is something called the University of Applied Sciences. All of the universities that I've received Fulbrights from, not all that I've lectured at, but the Fulbrights are all applied sciences. What does that mean? In the Finnish world, an applied science university can only do undergraduate and graduate work. They cannot do doctoral level. So if I went to the University of Helsinki, I could do doctoral level. If I went to Helsinki University of Applied Sciences, I could not. So it's a little bit of a difference there of education system, how it works. Now, it's a small world that we're in. It's a very small world. And that little quote right there is from Martina. She does a lot of work with, it's called Erasmus. Erasmus is the way that the European Union works with a lot of their education systems. And they have a lot of scholars that get together and come up with grants and participations on how the EU should work, which Finland is a part of. How did I meet Marina? Um, when I taught in Changzhou University in China, it's about 2 hours out from Helsinki, 2016. I was with my sponsor. He was Assistant Dean David Du, who is a good friend of mine. And while we're in China, we went to Shanghai and we wanted to have lunch. So as we're going to this noodle shop, David pointed out in the corner there's two professors. He said, "Well, I know those professors. They're from Santa Clara University. Let's go over and say hello." So I went over and I started talking, and Marina and I really hit it off. She had a supply chain program at her school. I had recently been part of a launching of a supply chain at New Jersey City University School of Business. So I was like, we should get together and have a cooperative class at one time. And we discussed it and we left it at that. And when I came back to the United States, I was like, how can I go back to Finland? Money was kind of tight. So I'm sorry, but meet Marina in Finland because I was going to China a lot. So I said, well, why don't we come up with a proposal for a Fulbright scholar? And she had the first Fulbrighter at SAMP, which was me. It was a specialist. She worked with World Learning on this. And it was very, very educational. I really enjoyed it. It's so much. My role there, part of my role, remember you do a lot of things as a Fulbrighter. Part of my role was visiting Port Rama and to discuss port management initiatives at SAMP and NJCU. NJCU is we're in New Jersey, right? Harborside, right by the water. So this was Port Newark, Port New Jersey, Port Philly, not too far from us. Great. We discussed that's part of Port Rama. And Port Rama is a business, but it's owned by a cooperative group of individuals, group of businesses that own Port Rama. And they were expanding at that time. And I was going down there talking to, from a US standpoint, again, that's the whole thing of Fulbrighter, what we do over here with our ports, because again, I was releasing a new program over here and I kind of understood it from listening to two of my top faculty at that time who were involved in port management. So it was really great. I enjoyed it tremendously. And when I came back to the United States, I worked with Marina, and we said, well, why don't we continue doing this and have cultural exchanges of students? Part of the questions that you will answer if you're applying for a Fulbrighter is, what is this going to do to your career? And what is this going to do for your university? Well, for my university, I wanted to make sure that the students here in New Jersey City University, that they were able to understand the culture of Finland. I wanted to expand their knowledge of what it would be like to talk to another country. And we did this through this was pre-Zoom. And we did this through Zoom or Teams, I forget what it was. So it was really kind of like starting from scratch. Zoom right now we're on, and it's like everyday activity. Back in 2017, it wasn't. So those are the students in the top right of top middle from SAMC, and that's my university students at the bottom. And the question that Port Rama asked us, because we were going to have two classes combined and do a business analysis on should Rama expand their operations to either Port Jacksonville, the bottom, or Port Baltimore, the top. So our role was to find out about these two ports, and the SAMC students were to do a lot of research about Port Rama, combine them together, and make a presentation to the port. This was the project that we worked on. But from my standpoint, it was so much fun watching the relationship between the US students and the SAMC students. Granted, there was about a 7-hour, depending on what time of year it was, a 7-hour difference. They're 7 hours ahead of us. Our students would work together, and, to find time to meet, discuss things. Social media was around at that time. They were working on social media. But the fun part was to watch how these Finnish students work. From a cultural standpoint, Finnish students are rather quiet. And in Finland, when you talk to someone in Finland, you have to be really good at putting in a pause, because they wait for you to stop talking, and then they talk. It becomes intuitive after a while. But if you're not used to it, it's kind of awkward. My students in the US were not used to it. Those of you who have students in the US, or those of you who are teachers on the webinar, we talk a lot, and especially in the Northeast, they talk a lot. So the Finnish students were constantly complaining to me that the US students would not allow them to speak. And the US students were complaining to me a lot, saying the Finnish students never speak at all. So that was part of the fun of putting these two groups together. And I tremendously enjoyed it very much. It worked so well that what we did was we did it again. We did it again the next year. We did it again for, bear with me as I move this to the next slide. Sorry. We did it again for another organization, Lataland. I'm not going to even try to mention their second name. Finnish language puts lots of words together, but it was a beer group. It was a beer group that wanted to ask the two student groups. On the left is NJCU, upper top is SANT. Both are in our own respective countries. Lataland wanted to know, should we continue working with the US beer market and expand a gluten-free beer? Now, the beer company had a gluten-free beer. It was not successful in its initial launch in the US. And they asked us to do kind of like surveys and put together a kind of a plan that would give them more of an insight into the current US market in 2018 for gluten-free beer. Gluten was starting to kick off, for those of you who needed, who had celiac disease or something to that effect, they needed to have gluten-free products. My son, it has to have gluten-free products. It's hard to find them. And those of you who wanted to have a beer, there was, I believe it's called Cuckoo. That's the name of their beer on the bottom right-hand corner. That is a gluten-free beer. So we, getting back to the first project, Port Rama does go to Baltimore and Jacksonville. Whether or not they took our proposal, because we did say that it should be, split between them. And this Lataland Cuckoo beer does have, it's here in some specialized stores. Whether they took our recommendation to market it here, I do not know. But that was what we did. And the way that the Finnish school system works, there's no exchange of any monetary, meaning that the companies were getting actually a free analysis, a free business analysis or case analysis from the university. That's the way they work over there. It might have been different over here. If I was supposed to open up it, I might say, okay, maybe some expenses, etc., or some donations that could be made. But in Finland, that's not the way it works. So we respected their approach, and these were the first programs that I worked with at SAMP, and I also taught in SAMP. It was important for me to understand from the pedagogy, from a pedagogical standpoint, or the internationalization of education into the curriculum that I'm a big fan of. How do we teach in a top country, a top educational country? And again, it's based upon, a lot of it is the individual teaching with the students. It's not really, there's no, tests are a different type of test or minimum of tests. A lot of it is, experiential learning. A lot of these students have jobs they'll come in for out of a month. They'll come in for maybe one full week, or they'll come in for a weekend. So it's kind of, it's a different view over there. And in this university, I was working with the undergraduate students. So it was really a great experience. I totally loved it. Then I wanted to, those of you who wanted to know about a Fulbright Scholar, that was a Fulbright Specialist. Now, the Fulbright Scholar is with IIE, which is the Institute of International Education. I just was on a webinar with them yesterday, and those of you who might be liaisons at your schools, Fulbright liaisons, Fulbright, we got an advanced view of the 2025-2026 program that will be coming out probably in February 2nd. They also have a new site that's much more interactive for faculty or students that are applying for a Fulbright Scholar. And there's a variety of different scholars that you can apply for, and a variety of different countries that you can apply for. So it's a lot. I like the site that that they will be introducing very shortly because it compares different country programs. So some people would want to compare, do I want to go to Nigeria or do I want to go to Australia? It'll compare the different programs. So I thought that was pretty cool. I am a liaison at NJCU, and my role as a liaison is to push these programs out to the faculty. If students want to look at it, they would work with the Fulbright advisor, not the Fulbright liaison. So I did receive an award. I received an award in Turku University of Applied Sciences. I'm just going to be looking over here. I apologize every now and again. I'll be looking at the clock to see how much time I have. But Turku is down south of Helsinki. It's applied sciences. My role there was teaching and research. And my sponsor was Dr. Yanni Roslov. He was the Turku head of education and research. My research was on sustainability. So in 2020, remember that year, I was there. And again, because you're a Fulbrighter and this was their inaugural Fulbright, they were excited about having this. I went to 4 different universities. I taught at Abo Acadium in university, which is a university of Swedish students of Finnish descent. They speak Swedish there. If you're in Finland, you're going to learn 3 languages, English, Finnish, and Swedish, mandatory, possibly a little bit of Russian, but mandatory, those 3, maybe a bit Ukraine as well. Those are mandatory. I also went to the Helsinki School of Business in Helsinki, Metropolia, actually, I guess it was around Helsinki as well, and Turku. And my role there was talking about whatever they wanted me to talk, whatever they wanted me to teach. I did the keynote speech there on sustainability. I also did marketing, finance, and my Wall Street experiences. Schools are just so hungry to understand what's Wall Street all about. And I give them the real firsthand knowledge of what I had at JP Morgan, especially during the financial meltdown, because my products were CMOs and CDOs, and those are bad terms in the derivative world back in 2005, 2006, and 2007. Just a few snapshots. In the upper left-hand corner, there's Yanni Roslov, who is my sponsor. Next to me on the right side is David Yoakum. David Yoakum was the chairman of the board over at Fulbright, Finland. We hung out together. He was quite an amazing individual. He is a drummer. And right off the bat, I knew I would really enjoy working with him. He showed me a picture. He said, "Here, look at my father. Look who he's friends with." And his father was friends with Albert Einstein. So right off the bat, I was like, I like this guy. It was just amazing, just amazing. So in the Finnish world, they wanted to take us to Helsinki to see the U.S. ambassador, just to show, at that stage, the U.S. government gave $50 million to Fulbright, Finland, and that was I guess Bob Pence, Ambassador Pence at that time. And Ambassador Pence is quite an interesting individual. He's a historian on ancient history. So it was great working with him and talking to him there. And then again, Fulbright Finland is constantly shows you to the world. In the bottom, near some Fulbright artwork. It's very fancy artwork they have throughout Finland. You'd see many cities here in the United States. We have it in Philadelphia. We'll have art in New York City. But that's the Fulbrighters there, and there was some Fulbright Finland folks that were also scholars and that were specialists. Everything was going great, right? But something happened. I know I was, when I was in Finland, I was always watching. I wasn't watching US TV. I was watching France 24 or CCTV, which was the Chinese satellite TV, and RAI was the Italian. And I started there in January, and then January, the end of January, I'm hearing little threads of stuff over these news programs. And here comes February. I'm hearing about some things in certain countries, especially in Italy and France. A lot of people are getting sick for some reason. Not paying much attention, just thinking about it. Boom, the world changed. My Fulbright scholar was from January 2020 to the end of May 2020. And well, obviously the world changed in March of 2020. For me, it did anyway. So what happened? Well, again in March, Fulbright Finland was constantly talking to us about there's issues. There's big issues. There's a world pandemic going on. People are wearing masks. You can buy 100 masks now for $10 in Finland, and they're not a price gouging country, but for one package of 3 masks, it was €5. Very expensive. And they were gone overnight. So what was happening was the world was changing. Fulbright Finland said to me, John, you can stay. We will honor your teaching assignment. It'll all be synchronous, or you can go back home. The State Department, in no uncertain terms, said your Fulbright is canceled. It's ended. You all are receiving credit for finishing your Fulbright. And I have the completion. They give you a completion certificate for all 3 of them. I have this completion certificate. But they were saying everything's canceled, so you can go home if you want. You can stay if you want. I'm like, thank you very much. So my family was here. So I picked up the phone. I'm not going to say who the airline vendor was, but my tickets were all canceled. I couldn't get a hold of any airline. So I'm in panic mode right now. Well, Finland is shutting down. You can't leave, you can't enter. America is shutting down. Can't leave, can't enter. So I've got a couple of days to figure something out. Again, Fulbright Finland was taking care of me if I stayed, but my family was here. So I called United Airline on the line for 8 hours and it dropped. Tried it again on the line for 8 hours. And I'm like, okay, it's going to drop. I'm stuck here. And I hear this lovely voice from Houston saying, United Airlines, may I help you? This was an angel. Literally an angel was on the end of that line. She booked me out of Finland in 2 days. And I just had to stop over for a few hours in of all places in Hong Kong. And Hong Kong was shutting down just as I was leaving, and back to the United States. I got to the United States, New Jersey was shut down. I live in Pennsylvania. Long story short, I was in Newark Airport. There was one Enterprise rent-a-car open. I got a car. I went home. All of our classes were switched synchronously. So those of you who are teachers, everything went synchronously. It was just an adventure on top of an adventure. But I continued it going forward. Part of this role is to continue things going forward. Yanni Rosloff and I wrote a paper called Reflections of the Internationalization of Higher Education. It's in a peer-reviewed publication of higher education. I've worked very closely with Professor Marjo Joshi. She's that picture right there. I talked to her 2 weeks ago. She's going on her holiday right now. She finished her doctoral degree and she's celebrated that with a holiday vacation. So I am working with her on a joint program on online learning. She's a pedagogy specialist at Turku, and we're going to be working on that together. And I did have one class with Professor who was from Swede of Finnish descent, Paula Ali. She was a senior lecturer. She's since retired at Turku. And again, we put together 2 classes in business ethics. And it's safe to say that the understanding of ethics in Finland very similar to the understanding of ethics here. Not a major cultural difference. So Finland is very closely to us. Those of you who looked at Geert Hofstede, as they would say, he did a cultural dimensions, and in Finland, in many aspects, is what they used to call, I don't know if it's an insult, I hope not, is the Americas of Europe. I would say, to me, Finland is very similar and very different at the same time. It's quite a unique country. I really enjoyed it. Last one recently was at Lapin, which is Lapland University of Applied Sciences. And my award was a Fulbright Specialist Award. Again, I was on the bench for 5 years. That was the end of my Fulbright bench. I'd have to apply again. They've cut it down to 3 years now. But you're allowed to there has to be a 2-year space between your Fulbrights. They waived the fact that I had the issue in 2020 with, they just took care of that cohort of people. It's a little bit, we were treated a little bit differently because we kind of had a pandemic in the middle of our Fulbright. And my teaching and research, I worked with my sponsor, Taja Tommy. She's the head of the business and sports program. And Professor Marko Korkowski, he is a sustainability lecturer. So my role there was quite interesting. And in that role, I also worked with Angelica Cristina. and she is a professor on sustainability. So she has lectured here at my university on sustainability. And in turn, I lectured at her university, all Zoom, in 2023, and we're doing it again in 24 on Wall Street. Is greed good? Is my topic. And at the end of the topic, my question then would be to the at the end of the presentation to those on the at the webinar. Well, is greed good? And then I get their feedback based upon what I've talked to them about my experiences working for JP Morgan in a high level role during the financial meltdown. It was quite interesting. I left Wall Street in 2015, so I totally enjoyed it. Professor Christina again is going to be talking to us about a sustainability in the Arctic. When I was up in Lapland, it's in Ramaneni. It's a small little town. It's right at the Arctic Circle. And the Arctic is both very, very powerful, but fragile at the same time. Those of you who've gone to the Arctic. And when I was in all three of these different Finnish programs, the two first programs that was different than the last one was there was no snow. There was no snow in southern Finland. It did not exist. And everyone kept saying to me, this is really weird. We have no snow. So I'm getting firsthand that something's happening in the world with our environment. So the professor goes in depth about what's happening to the environment. And because we were part of, at one time, the University of the Arctic, NJCU was, it was quite exciting to listen to her presentation. She'll be doing it again. And my presentation again was Wall Street. I did another one on the sustainability of triple bottom line projects and ESG in big businesses. And my two case studies were basically two mega companies. It would be BlackRock and Vanguard. So I would work with Vanguard and BlackRock and give a presentation on that. I really enjoyed that. And the sharing it with my school, in charge of also the sports program here, Professor Dr. Lauren Johnson. She is an expert in the sports field. She's worked with, again, Erasmus and with their professor in Lapin, Ben Taylor, who's an expert in sports and tourism, about things such as NFTs, that's that non-fungible tokens that I have no idea about, and crypto, which I'm very, very limited knowledge about. But Dr. Johnson and Ben have a great background on that. So they talked to the Erasmus, which was a kudos to them and a kudos to the universities. I thought it was really, really important. And everything going forward is on Arctic sustainability. That's Marco in the up-hand left. And I am literally in the three other pictures, at the Arctic Circle. That's where Santa Claus is. I kid you not. Santa is there all year long. You get to talk to Santa. I loved it. And the head elf took me around, and it was really quite exciting. And just a few more points that I'll talk about Finland, and especially the Arctic region. You meet amazing people. These are the indigenous people of Finland. They're called Sami. And the Samis it's in many countries. They're in, there's about 100,000 that's left. They're deer herders. Sorry, not deer, excuse me. I have deers by my house. They look similar to like reindeers, but they're different. They're reindeer herders. And they're up in the northern region. And I've met and I worked with one of the Samis. She looked very similar to the young lady on the bottom left-hand corner. And again, they're in Norway, they're in parts of Russia, parts of Sweden, and parts of Finland. Very nice individuals to talk about their own culture, very distinct culture, very distinct language. And what do? A major part of them, they own the reindeers. Every reindeer in Finland is owned by someone. I live up in a mountain in Pennsylvania. I'm seeing reindeers all the time. They are wild. These are owned. They're all owned. And they use them for everything, for clothing, for sustainability, for food. Every part of the reindeer is used, and they're treated pretty well. So they're quite pleasant, very domesticated to a degree animals. And I really enjoyed my time there. And for those of you, my presentation is pretty much over. For those of you who are going to look at this webinar and get the Fulbright will put it up online. there was, again, if you're a Fulbrighter, you do get to go to other programs and other State Department programs. And one of them is the Thai program, which is about the alumni representatives from whatever program, not just Fulbright, any U.S. government program you get to go. And CSW, who is an artist, her program was to talk about the impacts on the rural community of different Fulbright programs. And my Fulbright, it, it was allowed to be put in there. Why? Because I was up in very rural areas in the Arctic, in Romaneni. It's a very small rural area. And there was snow there. Those people that wanted to know, is there snow there? Yes, there was. Not a lot, but there was snow there. But you can go online and you can see her presentation. It's quite interesting. And if I'm not mistaken, I think that's it. I do have a slide here that's talking about my questions. And I think that's it. Any questions that anyone would like? I know that
You close your presentation,
let me
please.
close it. I'm going to stop sharing right now.
Well, unless it is necessary. I see no questions so far, but first of all, I want to thank you, Dr. Donovan, for an amazing presentation. You opened my eyes on many things, and first and foremost, on accessibility of Fulbright, because we are asked by many people from different countries how to get a Fulbright grant, what kind of grants are these, especially by aspiring academic teachers, how to do it and where to go. And your presentation sheds quite a bit of light on that.
Thank you.
Well, yeah, very, very interesting. And I myself can ask you one question, if I may, can I?
Please.
Yeah. Is it necessary, because that's part of the questions that we are receiving here in Fulbright, New Jersey, is it necessary to hold a PhD while you are applying to Fulbright?
Yep. Many of the programs will require some sort of a doctoral, or whatever doctoral degree that you have. But if I'm not mistaken, the specialist may not. The reason being is that you're really going in there from a business skill standpoint, but the scholars probably will require. I know that there's an administration one that I just applied for, and the second line is, do you have a doctoral, a PhD, or a relevant doctoral? So right off the bat, you have to put it down.
Well, thank you. Yeah, you accomplished so much. I am wondering if you inherited some genes to accomplish that much, because reading only your whatever
Yeah,
bio is, yeah.
I
Well,
enjoy it so much.
I have, well, not a question, a message from Pat Hutchinson to you. Dr. Donnellan, I arrived late, my apologies, but can you tell us briefly the route you took to get to your area of expertise?
Great question, Ms. Hutchinson. Thank you so much for the question. Thank you. Basically, to where I was on the Wall Street area, I was always working within the management field, the management world. But I always believed that, and I had a master's degree down from Florida. I always believed that that wasn't my last place. I always talked to my children about Fulbrights, but I was on Wall Street. So in 2008, I decided I want to go for a doctoral degree, and I went to Pace University. And it was during that time that Wall Street was imploding. It was massive issues. And I was like, I better have a plan B, because I wasn't the youngest person in my department. So my plan B was to have a doctoral, which I got in 2013. And I was an adjunct. I adjuncted at NJCU, and it was right across the street from the PATH train from Wall Street, where I worked. And I realized that I wanted to travel, and NJCU gave me that opportunity to go to see the world and teach. And from that, I met Marina, and noodle shop
Mhm.
in Shanghai. So I've been here ever since, and I've never looked back. I love teaching. I love working with the Fulbright um, board in the New Jersey chapter, and just showing people about the Fulbright. It's a great opportunity of cultural exchange. So I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, that's true. I used it myself and enjoyed it myself.
Very
Yeah,
much so.
thank you so much.
Thank you.
Well, so you do not have any genetic predisposition. That's all out of your individuality, right?
All individual, and if I can do it, anybody can do it. That's my mantra. It's just I'm a plain ordinary person, but I just love to travel. And it's great to
Yeah.
see the different cultures as you've done so much in you're well established in your field as well. The places you've gone to and talked to, it's amazing.
Hmm.
The people that we have at the New Jersey chapter. It's a great opportunity for you.
Yeah, it's a great chapter. It's a
It's a
great
great job.
chapter. We enjoy coming together very much, and we invite other members who are not on board just for our other meetings where we invite all the crowd, whoever wants to join in.
Yes,
Pat Hutchinson, by the way, says thank you so much. We are glad to have you on board, says Pat.
my pleasure. Thank you so
That's
much.
communication. Anyway, yeah, I wanted to mention that I met Dr. Hert Hofstadter
Oh,
on one of symposiums of CETA Europa. Um, CETA is Society for Intercultural Education, Training and Research. And we have CETA USA, there is CETA Europa that includes, embraces national CETAs. And they come together once in 2 years. And once Dr.
wow.
Hofstadter was there, he was quite advanced, but walking was difficult. And we looked at him, oh my
Yeah,
God, this is Hofstadter. And
that's amazing.
yeah,
I lecture.
that,
Everybody lecture in the international business world. We all lecture with him. All lecture.
yeah.
Mhm.
The things that he invented, it was like Mendeleev for chemistry,
It's
you know.
amazing. It is funny because whenever I go to another country, I tell people to do that. Go look at his cultural dimension and compare the dimensions to your country and see what
Uh-huh.
changes you have to do. Because again, going to another country, you got to respect their culture. They will
Right,
be different. They will be different.
right. Especially US
Oh yeah,
culture.
very,
US American culture is very different from many different various cultures of Europe.
very true.
My God. And one of the cultural peculiarities you mentioned, by the way, the space
Yes.
that people, like they say that in Latin America and in Mexico, people come very close to you. You step back, they come closer. And this doesn't mean they are attacking you or anything. It means they feel warm, they want to be closer to you
Yeah.
mentally and emotionally as well as physically. However, in many European cultures, especially of the north of Europe,
Exactly.
including Finland, yeah, people just, even further away
It's
that we used to be here
it's
in
definitely
this country, in America. Yeah.
very good
Well,
point. And
yeah,
it's
and also interrupting.
yes.
Yeah, interrupting. Well, no interrupting. While in people in South America and Mexico and, well, Italy and probably Spain and Portugal, people are interrupting. Is it rudeness? No way.
Oh,
It's engagement.
that's a very
I
good
show
point.
I'm interested.
Exactly.
I have to contribute. I want to contribute. So I am jumping in and interrupting.
And
It's
that's the
culture.
difference. It's a cultural. It's amazing. It's so fun to see that and to see, especially with students, experiencing that for the first time. It's kind of funny sometimes. It's great.
Yeah, and you all learn it while you
Mhm.
go, like you did,
Yes, when you go to the other
to
country.
teach, to interact, that is,
Yeah,
with the students and teachers and other people who come your way.
most
Very
definitely.
interesting. I mean, Fulbright,
Yes, it's amazing. As Senator Fulbright said, it's a way of sharing experiences and culture. And as you introduced us to the Fulbright as well, when you opened up today's program, it's very important to society to have Fulbrights.
Yeah, the next time we have the Fulbright New Jersey meeting, when inviting many people to join in, they may be willing to ask you personal questions if you don't mind.
I would love to. Anytime you can
Yeah,
reach out to me, please do.
yeah. Well, I don't see any more questions. I don't know why people are so shy, but
Why agree?
anyway, anyway, well, any more questions, people? Come in, come on. Well, I don't see on Q&A at the bottom of your screen, you can put down, type the question if you wish. Well, 1, 2, 3. If not, we still have 8 minutes to go. So 8 minutes, 7 minutes now. Okay. Well, anything else that you would like to share, John?
Well, it's amazing when the folks come over here from different countries to
Oh,
participate, like some of the professors that I have over here, they just become immersed in the cultural aspect of the United States. It's a totally, as you said, it's a very different culture, and they really just enjoy it. I mean, trying to get, with Fulbright Finland, you can apply for certain grants that they're like teaching grants, limited grants, and I would be the host university over here. It's just fun to watch how certain countries will allow their Fulbrighters to come over here, because basically the Fulbright program, you need to be a US citizen to go someplace, but it's a reverse sometimes in some of the bigger
yes.
Fulbrights. So even when we go to their country, it's just such kindness and openness and sharing experiences with them. And right outside my window is downtown, is Manhattan, and at night, because on the waterfront, and you live
Yeah.
in
Yes.
Jersey,
Yes.
they're just breathtaking. They just sit back and they say, wow. So,
Yeah.
and when I go to their country, especially Finland, it's so much beautiful green forest and clean. I go, wow. So we're sharing cultural experiences
Yeah.
from that standpoint. So it's really good.
Yeah.
I'm trying to get to another Fulbrighter at some point. I'd like to go to Germany next as an administrator. So hopefully
Another amazing country.
it's an amazing, I've never been to Germany. I hear it's phenomenal. And I'd love to be able to go to see Berlin and to see
Yeah,
Munich.
it is.
Mm,
Yeah. I know for sure. I guarantee you would like it with all the culture, east, west, north, south, go Saxonia. I've been different places
and
because my husband, we have a family there in Berlin.
ah,
So
oh, oh,
yeah, and culture and people. Well, cold cultures, but warm, cold countries, but warm cultures, warm
very true.
people.
Warm people,
That's
exactly. Once they become familiar with you and they become a friend for life. I still have so many contacts with the folks from Finland. And I'm always asking them to come over here. But we do a lot through Zoom right now, and it's all,
yeah.
we're taking a little bit of that face to face, but it is what it is.
At the beginning, it's fine, but when you come together, that's what we experienced at Fulbright, New Jersey. We came together when masks, and
Yes.
this is it. That's how we started via Zoom. And the first year only, well, I think in a year and a half, we were able to come together for the first time.
First time.
Yeah, and it was amazing just to see, and Pat Hutchinson organized our comings together several times, but the first time I see those live people, I thought I knew them, but the physical
Yes.
entity, it's amazing
It-
how you are enriched,
I agree with you.
you soak up their knowledge, their warmth.
Their personality. And it's a cultural thing, and even it's all sustainability, the whole aspect of this. But even going down to their food and having their dinners and the different types of beverages and food that you have in those countries, it's eye-opening. It's just amazing because when you go to like a China, their
Oh,
culinary, and it's so pleasant, and the people is just so warm to you when you go over there. So I hope
Right.
I find that if I do get the award, crossing my fingers, I'll go
Um,
to Germany. But
um,
those of you who are
people are beautiful species, right? That's
really
what
are
you learn on Fulbright.
in Fulbright. Now, those of you who want a Fulbright, the Scholar is going to be open up, as I said, probably in about a week or two from IIE, and you can
Uh-huh.
apply online for that for your Scholar. And
Yeah, you folks put it down, what John is saying,
yeah,
but how to apply. Because, yeah, you may ask him,
you
you
can
know, if
message here.
personally, and we'll post the link on our Facebook page. Fulbright, New Jersey has a Facebook page. And there you can ask John personally via Messenger or whatever.
I'd be happy
So
to.
you are very welcome.
I'd be happy to, because it does, again, difference between a scholar and a specialist. Specialist, you can apply anytime, but a scholar is a very limited time, and it's opening up now, and there's a lot of work involved, as you would know, because you have one, so it's quite a bit of work.
I was a Fulbright scholar for a year, so
Really
that
nice.
was an extended amount of time. That's probably the best. But who has no time,
It's hard. Where were you?
limited by
Where did you go for
family
your
or
year?
whatever, that you cannot drag across the oceans or countries or borders
It's
or
tough.
whatever.
Were you in
Mhm.
Europe? Were you in Europe on your Fulbright, or? Oh, you were
Yeah,
here.
I was in the United
You were in
States
Ohio. That's right.
from
Right.
Ukraine. Mhm.
Yes, 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 yes. That was a cultural difference.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. And by the way, let me point out that Pat Hutchinson does a tremendous amount of work acclimating the people from Ukraine, the couple, the
Yes.
family, the
Yeah.
young family, who we sponsored to come to the United States. She not only welcomed them and took care of the physical, well-being and stuff, but also talking about cultures, showing the cultures. She invited them to Thanksgiving dinner, for example, and probably, which I know for sure, and
Mm,
probably to Christmas
mm,
dinner,
mm,
and I personally was at the um, baby shower
mm, mm.
that the young woman was having, and Pat was hosting it.
Very nice.
That's what we Fulbrighters do. And our president of Fulbright, New Jersey, leads the way. We are very proud of her.
Very nice.
So
I agree. Very, very nice. Very nice.
we're a good group, and the others welcome to our meetings, online or otherwise.
Most definitely.
Thank you.
Thank you
Our
so much.
our time is up. Bye bye.
Bye bye, everyone. Thank you all. Bye bye.